Hey guys, KCTCG here, Ken speaking with one of my good friends, Sebastian.
Hey guys.
So we're here actually to start a new little series of essentially how to play Vanguard, whether or not you know how to play the game, or you think you know, but you always think you say you lose to luck, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's always a big one. John's everywhere.
So we're actually gonna start off first of the difference between playing in a tournament and playing your locals. So like Sebs, how do you practice for locals realistically?
So for me personally, I've always had the mentality of if I'm going to a locals, I want to win. If I'm gonna play there, I'm going to prepare like at home, or if not, I tend to prepare a lot by watching matches. I know some people don't really like that. I know a lot of like other players that I've talked to. Hey guys, have you seen, any of the BSF matches, or did you watch any of your like local content creators or anybody that did some breakdowns, or some of the Japanese YouTube videos, the players? You learn a lot, and that really helps like easy mindset going into tournaments because if you're not familiar with the matchup, just watching the gameplay will help you understand both sides of the matchup. And to
Yeah,
me, that really helps me prepare for a tournament, like even locals, just to be like, okay, like how many random players are going to play now with standard, right?
hmm.
Tamayura. If I don't know what Tamayura does, I mean, it's simple as, okay, I'm at my locals. I showed up kind of early. Let me look up a video and see how this deck plays or see what it does.
Yeah, like I'm sort of the same way. I look up cards, I look up matches, but I guess I have a benefit to than most over most people's because I sell the game. I
Hmm.
also need to open the game, which means I spent a good time looking at every card as I'm opening, going, what do you do? Oh, you look interesting. And as I look through cards and things start getting pieced together, like, oh, this goes with this goes with this, so that even if I've never seen a game play, I can look at a card and be like, all right, this is what I need to look out for. Like basics of, oh, you need so and so and so. For example, Tamiyura, you need the twins. If you don't have the
Right.
twins, all right, you don't have a five attack deck. You have a four attack deck. And if
Exactly.
you do have the twins, okay, I need to prepare for a five attack deck. Like people sometimes, I'll be honest, like if you think you know the game and you're not trying to read what your opponent does, but at the same time you're trying to win the game, I'm sorry, you're no better than just a noob that just picked up the game. Like, sure, you
Yeah.
may know your deck, but it doesn't matter if your opponent's deck can just catch you off guard and you don't know what to do against it.
Exactly. And I feel like that happens a lot, especially at locals where, I think a lot of players they try to go into the mentality of, hey, I'm going to locals, I'm gonna try this deck out. And it's like, yeah, I understand that you want to try something out, but just know that there's players that are going there that want to win consistently, especially if your locals offers, you know, like
Decent
what is
pricing.
it called? Pricing. If you have pricing, like the locals I go to, typically winner gets like $40 in store credit. So hey, $40 in store credit, that's a lot. That's basically a booster box. Like who doesn't want that? So if I'm going to a locals and I'm gonna play against somebody and they're sitting there like, oh man, I think my card does this, or oh, by the way, can I take this back, or can I do this and that? It's like, yeah, I understand it's locals, like maybe I can be a little bit lax, whatever. But most of the time I'm gonna be like, hey, you should have prepared for this. You should be focused on getting here and being ready to do your game plan, going through with your plays and knowing what you're gonna do. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing for me is I think a lot of people just don't want to put in that extra work just to get better.
Yeah, and going back to saying the mentality of going to locals, I just don't like the fact that sometimes people just throw away all credibility when they say locals. Yes, what if one person keeps winning? Person could be the sweatiest person in the world, or that person just wants to keep trying, keep practicing, keep making themselves better, and they eventually want to find that one player that can challenge them and keep playing that player. Like, that's an issue of also some players too. If that people get easily discouraged when they're playing. If they get beat, once, twice, three times, four times in a row, they stop thinking, oh, I'm not a bad player, they're just a really good player. Like,
Yeah.
realistically
Mm.
speaking, like Sebs, between me and you, like, I'm pretty sure we've gone 50-50. We've never had a time where one of us has like five, six, 7 wins on top of the other. It's always been
Yeah.
you take a win, I take a win, and it goes back and forth. Like I remember back in the day with G, it was literally that who wins dice roll, okay, it doesn't matter because we still need to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's a lot of like player nuance and also like adaptation. You know,
yeah, like if
I
people
noticed a lot of
can't
players.
do it, they just straight lose.
Yes, and they lose because I feel they give up. A lot of
Hmm.
players once they see like, I like damage. Okay, so like in our game, I mean, it's a mentality of like, oh no, I'm at five, like I'm gonna lose. Whereas I don't. I'm pretty sure you don't think that way, and I know I don't think
Mm-mm.
that way. I'm like,
Matter
oh,
of
I'm at
fact,
five damage.
there's games I purposely want to go to five. Like,
Yeah,
thanks for not being able to deny me, brother.
exactly, exactly. You just expanded my plays by that much more. Like I'm gonna be able to just do everything now that I need to do to win. Like for example, like Baron Magnus. Okay, for Barrow, I mean, getting more damage. I mean, for one, you hit triggers, whatever. If you hit draw triggers, cool, you plus. But regardless of that, the more damage you have, the more counterblast you have to work with, the more plays you can do, the more explosive your plays can become. And if you don't have that mentality of saying, "Hey, I'm gonna teeter the edge between like I might lose next turn versus I'm gonna go all out this turn," like you're not gonna be able to push yourself and get better in that aspect.
So literally, it's yeah, that's one of the things. And also another thing is that whenever people and this goes into I guess learning how to be better. When people see when we go to fight damage, they just think, oh, I was so close. I could have beaten you if I had one more damage. I'm like,
Mm.
dude, like realistically speaking, I'm sorry for some people to think that have this mentality of cool, I got him to five. You have to also think, did you really push me to five or did I let you bring me to
Yeah,
five? There's a
yeah,
complete difference there because at the end of the day, if your opponent that won has 5 damage but like 15, 12 cards in hand, I
exactly.
don't think you won. I just think that, or you were that close. I think that they just completely smashed you.
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely feel that way. There's been a lot of games where, I've had that happen where players look at me and they're like, "Oh, like I almost had you," and I'm like, "Yeah, bro, you almost had me with my 15 cards in hand."
Yeah,
I'm like,
and like three of
your
them were
next,
PGs.
yeah, I'm like, your next four turns would have done nothing. Like,
And not just that,
absolutely,
like there's times where people just look at it going, damn, like I'm even caught by surprise when my opponent loses with like 10 cards in. I'll legit be like, what was in your hand, dude? And they tell me like,
yeah,
oh, nothing but threes. Oh, understood.
yeah, yeah. There's just that at that point, there's nothing you can do about it. But again, too, it's like when we face that problem. Again, I know that you're good at adapting, and so am I. Or even keeping a clear mindset where it's like,
Yeah,
hey,
I think
I
that's the
have
most
these
important
threes.
part is keeping your mindset clear, like knowing your line of victory.
Exactly. Like to be like, oh look, I have all these threes in my hand. Okay, you know what? Hey, check a trigger, you win. It's like, okay, like let's wrap this up. We'll go to the next one. GG. As opposed to like, oh my god, I can't believe I have all these threes in my hand. My deck is so bad. Oh my god, this sucks. And like that's what really brings down a lot of the players that again they don't want to push themselves to get that extra bit better to be like, hey man, like yeah, I had threes, whatever, no big deal. Or over trigger too right now, especially in standard. Oh, you hit OT, okay, cool. Like just wrap it up. We'll go to the next one.
Yeah, like
Or yeah,
realistically speaking, there's games that yeah we lose, and if we if we lose because of an OT, okay, we lose double crit because we said no guard. Okay, like we had to, and
yeah,
then it's part of the game. Realistically speaking, like I
oh
always tell
yeah,
people, like, hey, if you're actually good at this game, luck shouldn't kill you, but luck is still a thing.
yes,
Like I'm not gonna say it's 10%, 20%, 30% of the game, but because in realistically speaking, right, if luck was like 10%, 20% of the game, that means 1 out of every 10 games against a complete noob should end in the loss. But
for them, yeah.
yeah, no, for us,
Oh, I get what you're saying.
like 1 out of every 10 games, if luck is 10% of the game, that means 1 out of every 10 games we should get sacked by someone that doesn't know how
Mm,
to play the game.
got you. Yeah, you're
And
right.
if that's a thing, then sure, luck is 10% of the game, but it's not. Like, realistically speaking, Sebs, probably you and I get sacked like maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30.
Yeah, if that.
Like, at that point, 5%?
Yeah.
One out of 30? I don't even know that percentage. Point 0.3?
It's it's the only time we're playing against a new player or a medium like a median player and them going to 3 and us being at 3 damage and saying no guard and getting double critted. It's like, oh, okay. Like you don't expect it for one, but it's also one of those things that it happens in Vanguard because it's Vanguard.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'll never say that this game is, perfect, because let's say for standard, for example, right? I still hate the overtrigger, and overtrigger ruins a lot of thought process in the game because we used to say two to pass or no pass, and now we always need to say
Yeah.
two to pass or OT, two to pass or OT. Like that extra or OT is so big, like it's bad.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, but it's the thing that also we know that as a player, I can give you the 2 or OT to pass and still feel fine.
yeah,
Because it's
like
like, okay, well, if you hit the OT, you hit the OT. Like,
mhm.
what was I supposed to do about that? You know?
And that leads us to another point. And when you're practicing for either tournament or locals,
Hmm.
it's your mentality if you lose or when you lose, and you get tilted off that one loss, it's gonna be bad because it ruins your mentality to play further or to think further than in future rounds. Because then all you're gonna do is I lost because of OT. All you're
Yeah,
gonna say is that like you lost because of OT. Well, was there anything else that you could have done that saved you the game? Did you take one too many damages? Like I understand honestly, if you got OT by Gravidia, sure, like that's 8 damage. Oh, I didn't hit a heal. Oh well, but
yeah,
not everyone in the world is playing Gravidia. Not everyone in the world is playing a deck that says I have one turn of OT and win. Otherwise, I pretty much have no game. Like,
exactly. No, honestly, yeah, like that's why like that deck is still really strong because it has that factor to it, you know?
yeah.
So,
So, like practicing though for locals, like all this what we said should be applied. Like, know what's going on. Know and also know what people are playing. Honestly, like
yeah,
if people in your locals always play flavor of the month, just know the flavor of the month. If people in
yeah,
your locals like playing new stuff, then learn new stuff. But if they're always playing the same deck over and over again, like I'm guilty to that. I'm playing Zorga every week at locals. Then learn the matchup. Don't just go, oh, Ken's a better player than me. I'm just going to lose. Always
exactly.
try to win. Always see where faults are. So that's the biggest thing. And in tournament, honestly, it's a different mindset. People might just say, oh, it's a bigger locals. Realistically speaking, when we actually do things like BCS, BRO, Springfest, we practice differently. We know different things because we know that it's not just our local players. Like,
Exactly.
rule number one that I tell people whenever someone wants to ask how do I practice for for regionals, rule number one: don't go to your locals. If you want to
Mm.
practice for regionals, go somewhere else.
Oh,
Go to
okay.
a different locals.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Because
definitely.
if you're playing your own locals over and over and over again, you're not really playing a new person. You're not playing a new style. At regionals, you need to expect different players, different play styles, different mindsets. Like if
Exactly.
someone plays differently than you've ever thought and you lose to it, well, I guess you better start grinding games with them.
Yeah.
Like play them to the point where you can finally win. And if you're a player that loses to a person or a deck, then you have multiple choices, honestly. One, grind those games until you win, and then keep grinding until your win ratio to lose ratio is either 50-50 or even better.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one for sure. I know a lot of players that again where they don't want to get out of their comfort zone to be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm going to go try out this new local." Where it's like, "Hey, the players that live 30 minutes away from you, again, how you said, they probably don't play like you." Like and again too, that's a big thing with adaptation. If your adaptation isn't good to who you're going to play against, then I mean you don't really have a big game plan. And in Vanguard, it's still a game. They're still reading your opponent, how they're feeling, looking for certain body cues. Oh, look at their face. I swung for, 3 crit. Oh, look, he's really thinking about this attack. Okay, I know that if I hit my triggers, what's the next possible best thing that I can do to just win out this game? Where if you're
Yeah.
not having that adaptation mindset and you're not playing against other people and you don't see what other people are doing, you're not going to catch those habits in big tournaments. You're not going to be looking for those things where, hey, this all in might win me, or maybe separating this trigger and power or whatever, or even like just being really calm about it. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize how strong a calm player looks. If
Yeah.
you're very calm and forward about your plays and you know your line of play, that gets into people's heads. And
Oh yeah.
if you're going into different tournaments and presenting yourself like that, again, when you go to the big tournaments, people already know who you are. People will look at you and be like, "Oh, that's Ken, that's Sebastian, that's the guy who beat me, and all he did was put his hand down and watch me play my game. That's
Yep.
all he did." And it's like,
Like,
yeah, like that really adds to the factor of I know what I'm doing. I can be better than you. I'm gonna win.
and also before we go into more tournament talk, Sebs, remind me if I am correct though. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, that I don't know how to speak
Mhm.
English sometimes. You have won BCS or Springfest, right?
I came in second at Springfest for G. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you've won other big tournaments before, right? ARG,
yeah, yeah. I've
PPGs.
ARGs, PPGs. Yeah, I've won a lot of those tournaments
What
before.
about BRO?
I don't think I've ever. I think the highest I've gotten in BRO was like fourth or third. I think.
So just so the community knows you and the people that are watching know you, you're not a slack. You've always placed high. You've always either been to the top or you are at the top.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I would even in our own friend group. I mean, I have my friends that come to me and they're like, "Hey, dude, like you're sweaty," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's okay. I like winning. Like, and if winning requires me to sit here and not do anything for 3 turns, you better believe I'm gonna sit here and not do anything for 3 turns.
Dude, that's so
Like,
cringe.
if I'm like, hey, oh look, you're a Bastion player. Oh, you have one counterblast. Okay, give me some extra damage so I can one shot you. I'm not giving you an extra damage. Go ahead and drop your hand, and then I'll kill you in 2 or 3 turns from now. I don't mind. But I know like a lot of people don't like that because again, Vanguard is one of those things where I want to have fun. I want to have fun. Hey, everyone's definition of fun is different.
Yeah,
My
sometimes you
fun,
have fun when you win.
yeah, my fun is winning and knowing that for one, I outplayed you and I'm like I won.
Yeah,
Like
and also another thing
eh,
for me is that honestly, you can have fun not playing a sweaty deck. Like, for
yeah,
example, I'm playing Zorga. Like, people know that's not a sweaty deck. Hell, people don't even understand the deck, which is going to be another
yeah,
point in this topic. But I have fun. I'm winning, and I'm playing a deck I love. Like,
exactly.
that's the thing.
So
Like,
so
finding that deck, finding that thing of who you are that just says, oh, this is mine. This is my deck. It's a really big thing, and also, uh, like getting into it, like preparing for tournament for an actual regionals for like Springfest, BRO, BCS. Like
mm,
at the time of recording right now, like we have BCS 2022 being announced. Like how I would practice, I'm just gonna keep looking at every single card that comes out, keep my ear to the ground of what new, ideas are being popped out, like some genius tech that we've never seen. Like
yeah,
when these things
definitely.
start popping up, pay attention to it. Just don't think that, oh, I'll deal with it when I see it. Like you need to deal with it before you even know it, before you even see it in your match. Because if you don't know how to deal with it during your match or before your match, good luck.
Yeah. And I think that that really adds to the idea of deck building, right? Because in
Yeah,
in this game, typically a lot of people they net deck,
yeah,
which is I mean, cool. Everybody does it in a lot of card games. But the thing is, they don't remember when you net deck something, you better believe that the top players already have that list and have already played against it and already know how to beat it.
and not even just that. Like yeah, the top player may know it. The top player may already have grinded enough games to beat it. You also have to realize when you net deck, know why someone plays something. Know
Yes.
like understand the combos, the the abilities, how everything goes together. Don't just think that, oh, because I'm playing this tier 1 deck that people keep winning with, I'm going to win. You have to understand what, like, every card has its purpose. Why are they playing that card? Like,
Yeah.
and also that
It,
also comes into play with when you're playing a deck that's not meta, but you're losing to it. Why are you losing to it? Well, it's not
yeah.
because it's anti-meta. Maybe you just don't understand it, so you should probably understand it to maybe beat it.
Exactly. Like here's one that I think of that just came to my mind. Like remember what's that card's name? Rollock? I think it's a grade one Cray Elemental,
Oh
right?
yes, yes, yes. The Earth Elemental, the
So
one that spiked in
when
price.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, a lot of people, they didn't look at that card and say, "Hey, this could potentially win me a lot of games." A lot of people just looked at that card and said, "Oh, this looks kind of stupid. Like, why would I play this? I'm only going
Hmm.
to be at 2 for 1 turn. Why does this matter?" And then you give it to other players who are more innovative or want to try and push their deck, and they see, "Oh, this is an opportunity for me to beat XYZ deck.
Hmm.
I'm going to try and revolve my deck or build with it and push it to what I can, increase my ceiling."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's one thing for
like
sure.
that's another thing too. And just practicing for a deck, like the months, the days, the weeks beforehand, that should be what you've been doing. Like always just playing different people, try to learn, and then when you finally, if you're that person that goes to a tournament and you always walk away victorious, you feel great.
Yeah.
But if you ever walked into a regionals and someone asks you the day after, "How did you do?" and you say this very like softly, hoping they don't hear, "Oh, I won like X3, X4, like I
Yeah.
scrubbed out round five," and then you want to
Mhm.
blame it on overtrigger. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's
Yeah.
actually the fact that you didn't explore everything else. You didn't walk out of your comfort zone to play other decks. Like I can guarantee you, people that consistently hit top eight, consistently not even just top eight, top 16, top 32, and not even just talking
Mm.
about Vanguard. I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, any of these big TCGs. I can guarantee you those players don't just play the same 10, 20 people over and over. They play other people on the daily. They go to other locals to play. Matter of fact, probably the week before or weeks before the regionals, the world, whatever tournament, I can guarantee you they probably go to like 5 or 6 locals within the span of like 2 weeks.
No, yeah, probably. And I think a lot of, especially nowadays, I mean, we have so much avail like there's so many things that you can do to test. I mean, even from like Cardfight area.
Hmm.
Cardfight area is not the best, but I mean, hey, it's a simulator.
Yeah, it,
And
it
also
gives you
too,
what
like
your deck does on paper as well as everyone else's.
exactly. Exactly. And also too, I know that in Yu-Gi-Oh they do this a lot. I believe it's like running a gauntlet, right?
Yes,
Where you
they they
take
just
all the top
TLDR, they run a train on themselves.
exactly. You take all the top meta decks and you just play. And it's like if you have other players, like say you have your group of players, and like, hey, maybe they're not the best, or I can find better players. Usually, it's still good to go online. And I mean, now with like I said, there's Vanguardians,
Discord.
there's Discord, there's yeah, there's so much stuff that you can do to even just like talk to people who play the decks a lot. And hey, what really hinders you, or what play could work with this or that, and then see it for yourself and put it into practice to say, hey, at my next locals, when I play against this Magnolia player,
Hmm.
maybe I'm not going to swing into their leopard because the leopard's going to go to drop zone and they're going to be able to call it back.
Yeah,
Because
maybe I should
there's
know what's
players that do
going
that.
on.
Yeah,
So
there's players
going
that do that.
forward, next thing is would be when you actually go to the regionals or the day of the regionals, locals, or big event, like things you should do, like what should be done. Like for me, I prefer to start my day off with a nice shower. I wake up, have a good breakfast, make sure I'm not thinking about food, and maybe I'll bring a bottle of water if they allow me, and be prepared for at least basics, not even just thinking about the card game at this point. Like, make sure I'm clean, make sure that I'm, fed. Maybe bring snacks. I don't care, but
Yeah.
just make sure my deck is 50 cards.
Yeah.
Most importantly, since I've been hearing this so much right now, and the reason I've been hearing is because one of my friends is an official level 1 or level 2 judge for the game.
Hmm.
He's complained about so much people bitching that, hey, why'd you game lost me? Well, your deck list that you submitted does not is not the same as the deck that you're running. Like,
Mm.
I'm sorry, dude. I don't care whether or not, like, you think that, oh, just because I can't find this one trigger or one card, I can replace it with another and the judge won't find out. They will, for one.
Yeah.
And two, like, let's be honest. You had months, weeks to prepare for a card. And if you want to be stingy and say, I don't want to buy it, I'll just buy it for cheap at the event, or I'll find it before the event starts, I don't care if a card is $50, $5, 2 cents, and you need to buy it from someone for like $1 increase. Just buy the card.
Yeah, because you're just playing with yourself at that point. You're like you're ruining your chances to get into the top tables because you show up to the judge and then they look at your deck list and they look at you and they're like, "What happened?" You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, right? Like, not even just your cards, your sleeves. Like, make sure the day before or the week before you buy a fresh pack of
Mm-hmm.
over sleeves or sleeves. I don't care which ones you use. I don't care what brand you use. Know your sleeves. Know that through play, sleeves get dirty. And if you're
Yes.
running over sleeves, just replace your over sleeves. If you're running just basic ultra pro, pray to the Lord, it's opaque, or
Mm-hmm.
hypermat minis where they are darker, then make
Yeah.
sure you just buy a new pack. Like, it's not that hard. And if you want to say, oh, but it's like $5, $10 I don't want to spend, then
I
hope to Jesus that the judge that goes to you or the deck checks you, or even just the player doesn't say, judge, he has a mark sleeve,
exactly.
and,
Yeah.
you're and you're the fool with no replacements.
Yeah, that was that was gonna be the next thing is like having the replacements on you because I know obviously we've played card games. We know that sleeves rip. We
Hmm.
know that sometimes when you hand your deck to somebody to shuffle,
And they are
I
monkeys with
mean,
your deck.
I mean, shit, yeah. Some people they'll. I mean, you see Magic players they riffle shuffle their stuff, you know,
Hmm.
like that. I could never imagine somebody picking up my Vanguard deck and doing it, but there are people that have a different way of shuffling. They might, oh, I didn't see that your sleeve closed on this side and opened on this side. Oh no, it ripped,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's like,
also
oh,
important. Just like
yeah,
going with the whole where the sleeve is open, pay attention to your deck and your opponent's deck. Like, be
mm.
courteous. Everyone
Be
wants to.
courteous, exactly.
Everyone wants their cards to be treated nicely.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
first thing I check when I pick up someone's deck is, hey, let me grab it, twist it, and feel on either side to see
where the
where I'm
opening
gonna
is.
shuffle from. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to damage their stuff. Like I don't want them damaging my stuff. That's just being
So
courteous about it.
let's also do another thing because during these times, like, let's hope that eventually in the future when people are watching this video, they like the question isn't uh what if COVID? It what is COVID? What was COVID? Like,
Hmm.
right now we're in COVID times. We're still in COVID times, even though we're lifted a lot of mandates. We lifted a lot of restrictions. Like, you can say hi to your buddy now. You don't have to talk through a screen. Still respects the community when people don't want you to touch their deck. They don't want people to be like, oh, you have COVID. Like, I'll cut my deck. Just tell me where you
Hmm.
want the card cut. Like, I ran into someone during Springfest like this. You know what my
Oh, I
response
see.
was? I literally took out my pocket bottle of sanitizer and said, hold your hand out and watch me sanitize my hands. Let's just shuffle cut each other's deck because we know that at least from each other we're clean.
Exactly.
So I literally gave them sanitizer. I put sanitizer in my own hand. We both cleaned our like sanitizer hands, and we both shuffle cut each other's deck. It was
Yeah,
that
definitely.
simple.
That or
And
even if that's the case and they don't feel comfortable with that, like,
yeah,
hey,
just tell
judge.
them where you. Oh, yeah, tell a judge, hey, can you cut them
Yeah,
right there? Like,
yeah.
also, that's another thing. Thanks for bringing it up. People need to understand judges exist for more than just rules.
Mm-hmm.
If at any point in time you feel that your opponent, like, let's say they're being unreasonable, right? Oh no, you can't touch my deck. you
Mm-hmm.
bet, you bet your sweet ass I will.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I will have people. I would literally tell people, "Oh, you don't want me to touch your deck? All right, hold on. Let me call a judge." And
Yeah.
then I call the judge over. All right, hey judge, can you cut this? Can you cut his deck, please? I want judge shuffle. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, that's all it takes. And like we know that there are players that cheat. Like that's
Oh
nothing
yeah.
new. Every card game has cheaters and they try and get away with it in whatever way they can. And in Vanguard, I mean, that comes in mark sleeves or hey, don't touch my deck. or
Hmm.
something along those lines. But we know it happens.
Yeah, like I've even played with people that like think that I'm cheating,
Hmm.
and they cut, and then they'll say, "Oh, you're stacking your deck." I'm like, "How?" But sure, go ahead and cut.
You're like, I beat
Like,
you without drive checking, but sure, I cheated. Like, all right.
so, and then like that just brings us through to the next point, which is during the regionals though, your
Mm.
mentality, your gameplay, make sure that like I'm not gonna tell people to just play brain dead decks, even though that is what most people play these days.
Right.
But when you're playing a deck, or when you're playing in regionals, know that you need to be prepared to play the same deck at the most maximum intensity for 8 rounds, 9 rounds, maybe even
Yep.
12 rounds. Like, know that and no breaks in between. Like, know that
Yeah.
as the gate day progresses, your mental is gonna be decreased, whittled down lower and lower, like hour by hour, minute by minute.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I feel like that's something that people don't take into account. Where okay, like I'll give the example back in G, right? We
mhm.
played Night Rose
Yeah,
in Grand Blue. You had to take into account everything.
your
There were
deck, your
so many
drop, your game state, your deck state, everything, your
exactly.
opponent.
Your opponent, yes, there were so many little things that were so dumb that were like, okay, if I calculate these next three turns out in my head, I won, and there's nothing that my opponent can do about
And
it.
we need to do this every turn.
Yeah, yeah, and I get that. I get that some players like. I mean, I think again, it leads back to the mentality of, oh, I'm going to a bigger locals versus, oh, I'm going to a regional and I'm gonna win. So some
Hmm.
players, again, when they net deck, they're thinking, oh, well, what won this BSF or what won this big, Japanese tournament from last week? Oh, it's this deck. Okay, let me just throw this deck together and play it. Whereas in like, that's not how you really win. Like if
Oh
you
yeah.
think that that's the mentality to win, then I'm sorry, but like you're not winning as much as you would hope to. I mean, yeah, you can play Gravidia and crit OT. Okay, GG, you won. Like nice, but that's not always going to be the case.
Yeah, and the
And if
chances of
you
it
don't,
happening for like 9 rounds straight, yeah, actually good
yeah,
luck.
yeah, yeah, and then you're again too. That'll just add into your mentality where it's like, damn, I really played Gravidia and all I did was just swing counterblast and like I killed you. Versus like, oh, I gotta play, something else in standard that takes maybe a little bit more thought. I mean, there's not too much thought in standard right now.
Oh
Um,
yeah, like barring like
but
I want to say like maybe 3 decks at the most.
yeah, at the
Everything
most,
is
exactly.
literally turn your brain off, turn cards sideways, and just say go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I get that people like having techs and one ofs and changes, but it's not really too different to our game plan right now. We're just trying to get into the meta more.
Hmm.
But if you're not going into that tournament prepared to be like, hey, I get to play Bastion for 9 games. Okay, I have to play it very optimally. Is it gonna really tax my brain to play it optimally? Or like again, even am I gonna be able to play this deck for 9 rounds?
Yeah.
There's some
So,
people that really can't because it's just kind of hard.
oh
And
yes.
I it's not to blame them. Like sometimes it is hard to play certain decks and feel like you're being confident in every match.
Yeah. So moving forward from here, like, so after the regionals, people are gonna need to wind down. You're gonna want to like de-stress, but
Mm-hmm.
also not just not even just when after regionals you need de-stress. Know that during the regionals, if you lost, or if you even if you won, like congratulations, right? But still, know that there's things that you need to look at. Like think about your games. Was there a time when you were caught out of out of your comfort zone? Was there a
Yeah.
time that you were put into a situation and thank you baby Jesus, I hit a 6 damage heal. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things that you need to look at. Like just take a moment, not even just like an entire like record every little thing that happened, but a minute of your day, an hour of your time. Like just think about, okay, what actually happened? What can I have done better? What should I do with the next regional? Like, am I gonna do another regionals for the circuit? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things that you need to run through your mind, and there are people that are literally just one regional and done. Like, I'm only gonna play my one regional. I'm not gonna travel. Okay, cool. this you think, oh, this doesn't apply to me. It does, because
Yeah.
this isn't the last regional of the game, unless for some reason, knock on wood right now,
Mm.
Vanguard just ends.
Yeah.
But there's going to be times where you need to think, okay, so next year or even next week or next month, I don't care what regional you play, which one you're going to play. Know that, the next tournament you're going to play, the next big tournament, what should I look out for? What should I do? What should I prepare for? Or if
Yeah.
nothing went wrong, okay, maybe I should just do the same exact thing I did for this one and let's see what happens. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many things, and like uh we didn't have time to cover this in depth, but going back to the whole supply thing of sleeves,
Mm.
um I just want to touch base on what Bushiroad had recently announced. So most recently, Bushiroad had said that, hey guys, if you want, you're not allowed to run standard size sleeves. So just to clarify on it, it's not, you're not allowed to use standard size sleeves. Period. You're just not allowed to use standard size sleeves for the first card, for the first sleeve. You're
Right.
still allowed to oversleeve. So reasoning is they don't want people to shift cards over to the right or left inside the roomy standard sleeve, because you're a mini size card. You have
Yeah.
millimeters of space to shift the cards to the right or left to know exactly what is where.
Right.
Yes, you can easily tell by your opponent when they grab your deck. Oh, hey, cards are moving as I'm squeezing your deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's gonna happen. Or you're hoping that because they're double sleeve, people are just gonna pick up your deck and do a cut. It's not that way. Like, you're easily discernible the moment someone picks up your deck and even puts a little bit of pressure on one side, because cards will immediately move.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, Vanguard sleeves, if or Vanguard mini sleeves are I believe, yeah, mini size sleeves for Vanguard for I want to say perfect fit. You want 89 millimeters by 62 millimeters. You can always see any sleeves size because it's printed on the original packaging.
Right.
So for Vanguard, because we're a mini game, this will also apply to Yu-Gi-Oh. We want 89 millimeters by 62 millimeters, and that means for our oversleeves, we want only slightly bigger. So the brand that I use, Broccoli, is 65 millimeters by 91 and a half. It gives
Right.
you about 3 to 2.5 millimeters per side, or not per side, but overall in general, meaning like 1.5 millimeters and then 1.25 millimeters. Like,
Mm.
you don't have that much big, extra space. It's just enough space for this card to go through while it sleeves. And I believe Dragon Shield is the same thing.
I was looking at my case right now just to see like what the exact size on here was, but I don't really see it. Let me see if it's at the bottom. 63 by 88.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
going back to it, it was 63, which is perfect, and 88 is literally the same amount of size. So you don't
Yeah.
have enough overlap to fully protect a sleeve, but you have enough sizing that it doesn't just ruin your sleeve when someone shuffles.
Yeah, that's the big
And
thing
then
right
I
there.
believe Bushiroad's official sleeves are just a millimeter on each side, so 63 and 90, I believe. So all in all, like, know your supplies, know what sleeves, over sleeves, and just like Seb said, bring extras, bring replacements, so that
Yeah,
on the
bringing
fly,
extras.
on the
You can just
fly,
make the
that
swap.
happens. Matter of fact, when, like, if you are so, like, because I remember people were bitching about, oh, the sleeve scandal back in, like, at the time of recording, it was like a few months back.
Mm.
Oh, the guy said, "Oh, I'm using Bushiroad sleeve. Why is it miscut, or why are the different sizes?" Bro, I don't care. Bring the entire package of sleeves with you. Like, if
Yeah.
you didn't, then buy another one,
Yeah.
because it's all about being prepared. And if you're using, and also here's another thing that caught me off guard. The man was running character sleeves without oversleeves.
Oh yeah, that's I mean, we know that Bushiro does that for like bigger tournaments by themselves. but I mean they give them to you. So if
No, no,
there's
this
something
man was
that's
running it
going on there,
himself.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like yeah, at bigger like a lot of Japanese events, when
Yeah,
they
they
have you
supply
switch out
you
your deck,
sleeves.
they supply you the sleeves, and they have extras there. So
Yeah,
even if it's something that looks slightly off, hey, judge, grab the deck, go ahead and do the change. Here you go. As opposed to somebody showing up with a random character sleeve and being like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was messed up." Like, okay, well, you know that it's gonna damage it, and I mean, they're not really, it just seems kind of suspicious and weird.
oh yeah, but all in all, like, I hope people that are watching this got a few pointers, and uh, we didn't expect this video to be quite so long, but next week's video we're gonna try to do, I believe it was meta.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
like
go over math and
what was
stuff.
meta, what defines a deck as meta, and realistically, uh, what is meta versus what is a good deck.
Yeah, I think to like my closing thoughts on today's topic. I feel for newer players, especially, if you guys want to improve, you need to improve your mindset. You know that you're take into account that you're going to lose,
Hmm.
and you losing will only make you better if you take the time to learn why you lost. If you
Correct. It
don't take
doesn't
the time
matter
to
if
learn
you're learning by yourself or if you even ask your opponent, hey, what did I
exactly.
do wrong?
Yes, that's another big one. I'm like coming from me. I've played a lot of card games. I played Smash Brothers competitively, and one of the big things that I do a lot of the time is, hey, do you know why I lost, or can you give me some pointers, or do you realize at what point in the game? Because an experienced player can tell you at what point in the game they beat you.
Hmm.
I just did this the other day with some newer players at my locals. I stood there watching his play, and I'm like, oh, I won.
I
And then
mean,
he
matter
asked
of
me after.
fact, the video that's gonna be playing underneath, people, if you don't want to hear our voice, mute the volume, but watch the game as it's going.
Yeah,
Watch what's gonna happen because the man literally threw the game the moment he does a certain play. And those that catch it, congratulations. We will reveal it next week. But so comment below if you think you know why the man lost or when he lost. But all in all, just like the to add on to Seb's closing thought with one of my own, to those that think they know the game, or to the person that has always won their locals, but you've never gone to anywhere else, and the moment you step outside your comfort zone, you lose. This thought's to you.
mm,
Play better people then. Like,
yeah,
if you literally are afraid of playing better people, you will never get better. If you're
yeah.
never gonna risk the 100% win rate your deck has right now, then I guess you're just gonna be stuck. And people that are willing to go beyond, go to another locals, go play 20 other people, play someone better, play champions, play winners, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to play them, yeah, you're not going to improve and you're never going to win. And at that point, well, you can't get better. You can't be better. And
Yeah,
you're always going to throw
it'll.
an excuse of, oh, I lost because of double crit. I lost because of a crit. I lost because of I should have 2 to pass. Well, you see, that's your problem. I lost because I should have PG'd. Once again, your problem.
Yeah. If you know there's a situation where it's like, hey, I could die. I have an extra PG in my hand. Maybe I should PG. If you're really going in the mentality of, okay, I want to win this tournament, or I'm gonna play to the most optimal, then yeah, do what you need to do to win. You know. But if you're not, and I mean, again, like how Ken said, if you're just going to the same couple people that you're going around to just to win those matches,
Yeah.
you're not going to improve. You're not going to do anything better, and you're not going to push yourself as a player to grow. So that's a big one right there.
And another thing is, and just to, I guess, round everything off, because we are getting a little bit, I guess, late in time. This is about to be a 50-minute video.
Oh gosh, it doesn't
So,
even feel like it's been
it,
that
it
long now.
doesn't. It's because, honestly, when you and I talk about Vanguard, we normally can go on for hours. Like,
Oh yeah,
we have so much to talk about the game, and every single time we talk, it's able to improve how we think about more things. Like,
definitely.
whenever people play, and once again, this is more directly towards people that think they know the game. Like, know that, like, an analogy would be a diamond doesn't get polished by beating up against granite or stone. It gets
Mm.
polished by buffering it with something that's harder or the same hardness. You don't just, play someone that's lesser than you, or that you know you can beat, just like what Seb was saying, because it's not going to make you better.
Yeah.
Like, you yourself, putting yourself under stress, putting yourself under thought of, what can I do? Or find that person that is better than you or your equal and learn from them and learn from each other. Like, don't just think that, oh, I have pride to keep of winning. Like, even at my own locals right now, and I'm pretty sure this can be said the same for Sebs. When we win, cool. We won because we wanted to win. We won because we wanted the prizing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there have been times when me and Sebs run into each other at a shop regional, and what happens? We have a really good game, or we have that one unlucky game that makes us not that makes us lose, and then the
Yeah.
pairings get skewed and we don't need to play each other.
Yeah.
And then the other person normally just takes the tournament.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Either one happens, but
So
again,
like,
it's one of those things where we know if even if that does happen, it doesn't weigh on our mindset to be like, wow, I just completely lost that game. Well,
yeah.
now I get to throw the whole tournament. It's like, no, you go in, okay, let's review it in my head.
And
What did
even
I lose
X1
to?
people try. You should try.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Like, I remember, shop tournaments that literally people are either super sweaty or they're super casual because they want to play the game. And at the end of the day, one person wins and everyone's like, "Yo, congratulations, you won!" Or, "Bro, like, how'd you win? You were losing at one point." Or
Mm-hmm.
even, "Dude, you're such a sack of you literally just luck sack your way out." And
Mm-hmm.
realistically, right? Even if all three are accurate, how'd you win? You luck sacked, or you're still good. Like, know that, like, keep your moment of victory in your head, relish it. I don't care. But at the end of the day, realize that, hey, if you really did luck sack, if you're in a losing position, how did you get there? Why did you get
Yeah,
there? And
yeah.
if you're winning, also analyze. Was it because your opponent, gave
Was
you that
bad.
tempo? Or
Yeah.
did you actually have the perfect play that out tempoed your opponent?
Mm-hmm.
And just know these things for now. Like, next week we'll touch more on, more of these deck building, tempo, every one of these keywords. And once again, guys, like, just for now, take these things to heart. BCS is coming out. Bro's coming. Oh, sorry, not BCS. Yeah, BCS. BCS.
Yeah.
BCS is coming out, and Bro. If you actually want to have a chance to get top eight, win the entire thing, I think you should just pay attention to all this.
Yeah, just again, practice and practice efficiently. I think a lot of
Yeah.
players again when you say practice, people turn their brain off. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to practice and get better, you have to pay attention to a lot of stuff. And if you don't want to pay attention to that stuff, then don't blame anyone else when you go X and 4 at a big tournament.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just closing out, this is KCTG with Ken and Sebs, and
Bye
we
guys.
will see you next week.
Yeah.